So I'm going to be talking about how to level up as a dev with content creation. And I'm talking as a dev because I'm a developer, but if you work with any other area in tech, if you're a data scientist, if you work with DevOps, that's all applicable to you. So first, I'm Pachi. I work at on Relic as a DevRel engineer. I used to be a nanny for almost 10 years when I transitioned to tech. So I learned to tech with internet and free tutorials. And as a content creator, I love to write. I am a streamer. I also am a speaker. Sometimes I do podcasts and YouTube videos. So I have been creating content in every single platform that you can think about. And that's why I'm so passionate about creating content. Really changed my life and my career. And that's why I love to talk about this topic. So why devs should create content? We're developers. We always have to learn something, right? Like every day. It doesn't matter how long you have been coding. For example, if you are a front-end engineer, there's a new framework for JavaScript coming out every year. But there's some update. So we as programmers, we have always to learn something. And even when you don't have to, we are curious people. We would like to learn. Like I am a DevRel engineer. I work with front end, but right now I'm learning mobile just because I think it's fun. And I know that lots of you really feel the same. We just like to learn. There's so many cool techs out there, and it's a part of what developers do. And this need that you have, this like that you have for learning, is a great tool, a great fuel to content creation. Why should you create content? Like, so maybe you are a developer, you have been programming for 10 years. Why should they start now? First and foremost, you can showcase your expertise. What does that mean? If you are an expert in a language or in a framework or some tech, if somebody asks you, hey, how much do you know? Sometimes, you cannot just show your entire code base because it's too much. But hey, here's my portfolio. Here's all the articles I have read about that. Or be all the videos I have recorded about that. So when you create content, you have this portfolio of your expertise to show. Second, teaching is the best way to learn. When you're learning something new, if you write about it, that's the best way for the information to stay in your head and for you to make sure that you really learn. So if you sit down and you write, how does loops work? You think you do. No, you understood that. But when you sit down to write, the information gets better in your head. And later on, maybe you're learning something now and you don't work with that, but like in a year, you have to work with that tag and say, I don't remember that. You can go back to the content that you wrote and use that. So really, it's the best way to learn and to make sure that everything you're learning stays in your head. And last but not least, it's great for networking. I cannot tell you how many times I am on Twitter or LinkedIn, and there's some people saying, hey, I want to learn about this. And I have an article or a video about this. Hey, check out my video. And if you have any questions, please come ask me. My DMs are open. So if you have content about the topics that you like, you can use that as a conversation opener, right? So, hey, I know this, you need help for that. So we can work together. And in tech, it's really important to have a big network, to know people. I know that at least for people around me, most of their jobs, they get their jobs because they know somebody and they have indications. It's not because they apply because somebody needs side know them and they know their work. So it's really great for networking. Types of content. There are lots and lots of types of content out there, and it's hard to choose. So first, writing. And writing is not always blog posts. You can blog, you can write tutorials step by step, and even tweeting or posting on LinkedIn. If you write really good content, if you're on Twitter, some people write really good tweeted threads with great information, and that's content creation. So if you're writing useful information and you sharing what you learn or teaching something, you are creating content. Streaming. I know we can stream in YouTube. I stream Twitch, and technically, conferences are also streamed because they are live. There's a bit more of a niche thing because, since you're speaking live, it's a little harder to get started. Some people are shy. Some people are afraid of the public interaction. So definitely it's fun. I would give it a try. I would watch people streaming live code on Twitch, but I understand if it's not your favorite thing. You can create videos. No, YouTube is the first for that. I know that people are really liking TikTok nowadays, and Instagram has the Reels, that is like you record videos on that. So if you want to start doing videos, those are places you could go. Speaking like I'm doing right now. There are conferences, there are also meetups, right? That there are these modern day conferences, and they often help you to get started with public speaking. So that's another good way of content creation. And podcasts. With podcasts, it's great because you can start your own podcast. And with that, you can do a podcast where just you talking about something. You can invite a friend to be your co-host, or you can invite guests. So it can be any format you like. Or you can start being guests on podcasts. There are lots of tech podcasts that are always looking for new guests. At New Relic, my team, we have 3 podcasts that we are always looking for guests. Actually, if you'd like to be a guest on one of them, please, my DMs are open. We're always looking for people. And that's a good way for you to start practicing speaking. And because podcasts usually are just voice, you're not showing your face. If you are shy, they're a little easier to get started. But if you have never created content, I always recommend you to start with writing, because it's easier to get started. You can go back and change things later. You can share, and if things get updated, you can edit years later. And it's timeless. It's easier for people to understand, to translate. So the number one for people that are starting, I always recommend writing. So that's the thing that people ask all the time, like, what you talk about? You say, I want to talk about this thing, but there's so many people talking about that already. And don't let that stop you. Sometimes your way of talking about something or writing, your experience is what makes a difference. For example, when I was starting to learn to code, I watched like 5 different JavaScript professors, instructors, and they were all great with great reviews, but only one worked for me because his way of speaking was the way that my brain understood better. So sometimes your way of speaking, your experience is going to be helpful to somebody. So never stop creating content because you think that the topic has been talked about a lot, right? There's always say, try to write content for you first, and then see if people are liking. So, okay, what can we talk about? First, I always recommend you get a piece of paper or in your computer, just write down everything that you know. Like, for example, for me right now it would be, I know HTML, I know CSS, I know JavaScript, I know about writing, I know about streaming, I know about public speaking, and about content. That's all I know. And you can write about anything. It doesn't have to be technical. It can be soft skills. After you get like all this list, you can ask yourself, what are you learning? Back in that, I was learning Python, Phaser.js, that's a tech for you to create games with JavaScript, and about community management. I don't know those things, but I'm learning. And what questions do you have? Or what questions people around you have? What is Redux, Vue, or React? How to make my own API? So you get the list of all those things that you know, that you're learning, and questions you have. And you go through that, and you have a huge list of things you can create your content about. And again, it doesn't matter. HTML has been out there for years, but there's always something new or a different view to write about. And now I'm learning Python. I can write a guy, hey, how to start with Python? Or how is Python different from JavaScript? That's the language that I knew first. And yes, like just really choose one, write this list, write down all these topics, choose something, and just ask more questions. The questions that you have is a great way to start, because, for example, how to make my own API. I will do the research for that, and while I'm doing the research and learning step by step, I started writing about that. It doesn't have to be a thing with your answer. It just can be with your experience. If you go to dev.to/patchycodes and you see my very first blog post, there was 10 lines just writing about what I was learning and how I was feeling. And that was how I started. And if you go see my last blog post, it's much more complex. So if you want to start and you don't know how to start, I always say that why don't you write your first blog post just about your journey? Why did you get interested in getting into tech? How did it start and why? What have you been learning? What do you know? So just for you to get the writing practice and for people to know you. So if you don't know, you want to get started and know how, write about your journey in tech. And so how to get started? First, you have to choose your content type. So from the first list of content, like I say, I always recommend writing, but maybe you have always want to be a YouTuber. So that's totally fine if you're comfortable with the video, or if you want to stream. You choose the content type that you think you'll be more comfortable with, or something that I've always wanted to try. Again, if you don't know what, I recommend strategy writing, but that's not mandatory. And their topic, go back to that list that you just wrote and choose a topic, or maybe narrow down to 5 topics, and choose something that you think you'd be comfortable writing about. And again, if you don't know, just writing about your journey. So I have a challenge for you all before I leave. I want you to create something, and it can be a video, it can be a blog post, a string, a podcast, and I want you to share with me later so I know that you watched this talk at your door. And again, if you have no idea how to start, go and write a blog post about your journey in tech. I would really love to know why you got to start in tech. And maybe you can write down about this conference, like, what did you learn at Git Commit Show? Choose a talk from today, like, what was your favorite talk? Why that was your favorite talk? What did you learn? What do you think you can use from that? And if this is your favorite talk, bonus points. So please share with me. I really would love to know, and I really would love to share content. Also, if you write something and you like feedback before publish, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn and Twitter. My DMs are open, and send me a blog post or the content you're working. I will be happy to review for you. And that's all for today. Thank you so much for listening. And please follow me. I am very active on Twitter. I stream on Twitch, and I kind of hang out on Instagram. I have a few videos, YouTube and LinkedIn, but Twitter is the place to find me. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Pachi, for that wonderful talk. So I'm sure the audience members would be having a lot of questions to go over. So before we get into that, I actually recently started my YouTube channel, and I actually have some questions for you, because I wanted to understand, we discussed this whole brainstorming process and coming up with what should be the ideas for content. I absolutely love the idea of, everyone has different experiences, so the way they teach is also very different. So what I really wanted to understand that while I'm creating content, so I tend to find that how do I exactly describe the niche for my content? So and I constantly find myself changing, So how do I go about it?
I would choose something that you feel comfortable, but it's a bit challenging. Like, for example, I have been working with HTML forever. So when I started writing technical content, I went from there, but I started going a little more like technical with things, getting out of my comfort zone. But in the beginning, you just get something that you're comfortable writing, because sharing content is a bit scary. You putting yourself out there to people to judge you. So it's better if you start something you're comfortable. And as you go, you're going to see what you like more, what your audience likes more. And you go from there. Like, I started as a front-end engineer, and now I talk about content creation. So that wasn't the plan when I started, but that's where I am now.
All right, awesome. So I'll just wait for any questions from I can see that the audience members are still a bit shy to ask questions, but we have around 145 claps for your talk. So I guess a lot of people are really happy to understand how to create content as a developer.
So amazing talk, Pachi.
Yes.
And so for me, creating content, it takes a lot of time. Like creating, and there is a lot of content that we can create: social, blog, YouTube video, and so many things. But how do you figure out that which one to choose, which one to go after, and also how to be more productive in creating content?
Mm-hmm. When I started creating content, I wanted to be everywhere. So I started doing LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and I just got lost really quickly. So I would tell you to start with one thing that you really like, for me was Twitch. So I was streaming on Twitch, and that was okay. And once I was comfortable there, I started doing a little more Twitter. So don't try to do everything. See what you like more, and do where you find people that resonate with you. Like I have so many great people on Twitter that I really like to share my content. But when I go to LinkedIn, the people there doesn't really love the kind of content that I share. So just see where you have people that like what you're talking about. And in tech, Twitter is a great place. Like have really great people there. And I have seen that LinkedIn has also some nice communities around. So I would tell you to check out those and see where to get started.
Pachi, we have a lot of questions for you. I just checked the chat. So first, let's start with the simple ones. A lot of people want to understand what are your responsibilities as a DevRel engineer. So would you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah, so it really depends on where do you work. For me at New Relic, we write content and we do streams about some technologies. Like, for example, last month, New Relic bought CodeStream. That's an extension for VS Code. So that month, we are streaming and learning about that and creating content about that. We also work with community. Like I'm also on Twitter and check when people talk about New Relic. And right now, like I'm not speaking about New Relic, but this is part of our job because connecting with the community. Like I didn't tell you about what is New Relic and what it does, but because you watch this talk, and tomorrow somebody say, "Hey, I'm using New Relic," you're gonna get curious because, hey, I saw Pachi yesterday and she talked about New Relic too. So what is that? So it's not the overall people, they don't sell you a product, they just present you the idea. So like maybe when you saw this talk, had no idea what New Relic was, but now you know that New Relic is out there. So, maybe you can come ask me what it is. And that's super cool because you don't have to be like a marketing person. You can really connect with people. So that's the good thing about DevRel. You really make friends with people in the community.
Wow, so that's amazing. So I would say creating content, community building, and through that, like understanding the need of your community, and so networking with a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Wow, yeah. Awesome.
We have to code, but we don't work for production. Like we write code samples, and when they have new features coming out, to write code around that. But we don't work as a developer that ships features.
All right, moving on to the next question. So this is a question from Raj. He wants to know, will starting his podcast will help him in like opening up, probably just driving away the discomfort of public speaking or something of that sort. So will starting a podcast be a way to get into opening up?
Yes, podcasts are great because nobody's seeing your face. You're just recording your voice, and they can edit that later. So that's really great. I love doing podcasts, and if you don't want to start one right away, you can look for podcasts for to be a guest. There's lots of people looking out there, and you can just record you talk, and you can choose a team and do like a season, like I'm gonna be talking about this, or you can invite a friend over, somebody to talk, so to be more like a conversation. Some podcasts, they're very well scripted and structured, and like the ones that I record, they're just me chatting with somebody. I like that, but podcasts are great for you to get more into speaking and getting comfortable, and you start to pay attention how you talk. Like I talk super fast, but because it is so much speaking, now when I'm talking publicly, I know this slow down, and that helps a lot.
All right, so moving the same theme of questions, so someone wants to know how they can get started with like an audiogram. Some tips on getting started on audiogram.
I haven't done that. I cannot help you with that, but I'm curious. I'm gonna do some research. If somebody knows, please share.
All right, and now moving on to something different. So there are folks here who want to know what's your daily motivation. What keeps you going?
Really, is the community. That's what is really. After I got into tech, I met really great people that have supported me since the beginning, and I met lots of women that they didn't know that a woman could program. And my motivation is to inspire other women, especially girls that are starting. And I think there's true and everywhere in the planet, like even the US, that there's so little women working in tech because they feel that they don't have a space. So my biggest motivation is just like put my face out there and show to the girls that women can code.
That is absolutely beautiful. And I really love your story too, transitioning from being a nanny, coming to tech, and now actually giving back to your community, that is the feminist tech Brazilian women community. That is amazing. Thank you for doing that, sending out positive vibes to the world. So one more thing I want to understand is that as a streamer, there's this question: how much effort did it take for you to start with streaming on Twitch, and was it worth the time? And what worked? What would you do differently? Wow, this is a really crafted question.
Yes. So lots of people, they want to have like the perfect camera, the perfect microphone to start. When I started, it was just me and the old laptop, and I used the camera and the microphone on that. Now, as you can see, I have a good mic and a good camera, but took a while together. So I just got started. The beginning is very hard. So what I did, I watched other streamers and I made a friend with them. So when I started streaming more, they would show up to my stream and bring their friends, and then you make a community, but it takes a while. I love that. For me, the Brazilian community there is great. So my best friends right now, I met them there. What I would do different? I don't think I'll do anything different. So one thing important thing about live streaming, in the beginning, you're gonna have nobody watching unless you are popular already and you share on Twitter, and that's okay. But even if you have nobody watching, it's very important to be looking at the chat. Like maybe somebody gonna show up. Pay attention to those people. Like every single person that shows on my channel, I treat them like they are special and they are my friends. And that has been working for me. And the thing with streaming is that you're coding, but coding is just half of the streaming. You have to pay attention to the people. If you want to just code, go do YouTube tutorials, because live coding is, you need to pay attention to your audience.
All right, thank you for that amazing answer. We also have some folks out here who have already DM'd you to be the favorite talk, although you're the first talk of the day. But some praise from the folks because they really appreciate the way you have broken down the process and made it really easy for people to start producing content. So there's one more question. I think you did answer some part of it during your talk, but let's delve into it a bit more. So as a beginner, what is the things that you need to get started if you want to start in content creation?
Yes, I always recommend starting with writing, because just sit down and write. You can write a little paragraph a day. You don't have to have your own blog. Dev.to is a great platform. They have a great community there. You just go there and create your profile. Then you follow me and they tell me you create a profile because you watch this talk, and they're going to read this stuff. And just have some topics to write about, really things that are interested. And like I say, if you are unsure, if you say, hey, I don't want to write technical content, I don't know if I'm good enough, just start writing about, why you started in tech, what is your favorite tech, what do you work right now, just to get the practice out there, right? And once you feel more comfortable, the one more important thing for you to create content is to consume content. So if you want to write, go to Dev and read other people's writing. If you want to stream, go to other people's stream and watch them. If you want to be a YouTuber, watch YouTuber videos, because so you understand the process, you see what worked for them, and being I don't like this YouTuber, but I like that one, I can do something similar. But yes, if you're totally beginner, writing is the best thing for you to get started.
Awesome. So we have one more question, and it is how can you get more people to watch your content?
That's really tricky. It really depends. It takes a while for you to build an audience, unless you go viral because you did something amazing. So it's good to have a place where you connect with people. So I don't believe in just creating content and trying out there. I believe in community. So for example, I have 5,000 followers on Twitter. Why I have those followers? Because I follow people, I connect to them, I talk to them. It takes a while. Right now, I have, I don't know, I think every time I stream on Twitch, I have like 30 people watching me. I started with 5, but I really took the time to nurture that. It's not easy. Like I say, unless you create a hit video, like, if you go on my YouTube videos, don't get much views. But, if you do something, like if you create a video, get the video, share on your social media, share with your friends, ask people for feedback. And, if you see somebody talking, like sometimes on LinkedIn, people are learning something, and say, hey, I have a video about that. Just share with people. Share. And share when you came out, share 1 week later to remind people, and just pay attention to the comments and be part of communities. So it takes a while. It is not fast, but you get there eventually.
So a more sustainable path to actually getting there, because making viral content is tricky. So yeah, awesome being part of a lot of communities. So just wanted to talk about how we have 186 claps on your talk so far, which is pretty amazing. And one more question that we have is actually related to money. Some people want to know how much money can you make if you're into content creation.
It really depends. I just want to say, I know there's lots of questions. So if you have some questions that don't get answered here because we have run time, you can my Twitter is open, so you can always ask me there. But yes, it really depends. Like if you get in content creation only, you can be a technical writer, you can work as a freelancer, find a job, you can work on DevRel, you can be a YouTuber. It really depends. You can make very little or you can make a lot. Like if you work as a DevRel engineer, you can make 6 figures, but your job is not going to be only content creation. I know that technical writers are a little less than that, but you can make your living. Like I would say that we that work with content as a job, as a full-time job, will make as much as a developer. If you're doing that as a freelancer, it really depends. Like some people I know that are YouTubers, they make so much money, but that is not a stable, maybe next month they won't make as much. I personally always like to have a job, so I know that the money is coming, I know how much it's coming. I can make a little bit on Twitch, just a little, because Twitch is not great to make money, at least not if you don't have a huge audience, but it's that extra money, that's nice. So only a content creator, unless you're famous, you're not gonna make much money. You can create that, and you're gonna use that, it can help you to get a job, and you can work on that in some area. But yes, it's a bit lucky to get to make money with just content creator.
Thank you. So basically, starting it as a side hustle would be a better option, and if you really grow into it, then maybe you can look into it as a full-time career, right?
Yes, if you see sometimes you're doing something and see that you're getting audience and it's growing, so then you can dedicate more time to that. I have a friend that he lives only from the money he makes on Twitch, but because he does that full time, he streams every single day, and that's a lot of work. That's like a full-time job. So, but he never knows how much money he will make this month, and if you're gonna make as much next month. So there's that. So it's but he knows that he can make enough to survive, and he took that from a side job to a full-time job because he saw that was gonna work. But it's not always like that.
All right, so we do have some questions which are sort of battles between social platforms. So folks want to know Twitch over YouTube or Twitch versus YouTube. And they also want to know what are your views on LinkedIn versus Twitter versus Instagram for content creation. So yeah, let's hear your views on this.
Between YouTube and Twitch, if you want to record videos and edit the videos and have structured videos, go for YouTube. Twitch is more like a casual thing. You're gonna code, but you're gonna talk to people, and what I have kind of not big, but I have lots of people in my chat. Sometimes I want to code something, but people are chatting and they want to talk to me about stuff, and then I don't get to code. So if you have a plan, go to YouTube. If you just want to maybe do some work and meet new people, go to Twitch. Now about LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram is great, but it's hard work because you have to do image and write content for that. And yes, I follow some people there, but if you like it, you have the time and the energy to invest on that, go for it. Between LinkedIn and Twitter, it depends your style. If you want to learn more serious stuff, I feel LinkedIn is more formal and you can write more because I don't have a limit. But if you want to meet people more casual, and on Twitter, I share about my work life, but sometimes I share about my personal life. I personally like Twitter because my personal brand is more like casual, but I do have a LinkedIn, because so if you want to share like more meaningful, serious stuff, I recommend LinkedIn. But I recommend everybody in tech to have a Twitter because they can really get some really information out there.
All right, that sounds great. There's one more question that I wanted to take. So people want to know, like, as a DevRel, you create content, but how do you exactly distribute it? Keeping in mind that you're a DevRel, so you have to, as you mentioned, like keep in mind certain guidelines for promoting your organization. So what are the different things that you have in mind while promoting content or creating content as a DevRel engineer?
About like how you distribute that, every time you create content for your company, depends if they have a marketing team, the marketing gonna share that. So usually they have a plan. Like for New Relic, when we have content packages. So if you're talking about this one topic, the marketing team gonna help us with that. But sometimes like I create some personal stuff. It's still DevRel because is makes sense to the company, but it's not about New Relic. Then I distribute, like I just share my medias. If I write a blog post, I tell people in my communities, on the Discord channels that I'm part of. I tell people on the streams, I share on Twitter, and not just share a link. I share a little bit of description, like, hey, I wrote this blog post about this and that, and check it out. But if you're writing content as a DevRel for your company about something your company is doing, and your company usually has a marketing team or people working on marketing, those people will be responsible to distribute that. But yes, the main thing about DevRel, when creating contents, that you have to, you cannot just talk about, hey, New Relic is great, use it. No, you have to really write content about the benefits and share the value about that. And sometimes, for some people, New Relic is not the best option for that. And that's okay. I have to be honest. So, hey, I don't think that's the best thing for you. Because in the end of the day, community is what is most important for us. And never think about just selling, because we're not sales team. If you like New Relic, great. If you don't like it, come talk to me and we can figure out why not. But if you use that or not, it doesn't matter. I just want you to have a good opinion of it.
Oh, that's a really amazing answer. I mean, it's not about pushing your views on someone, but it's more about just going with the flow. And yeah, that's really amazing.
Yes, because if you change companies in the future, you're gonna still have the same audience. The people that follow you right now, they don't follow you because of where you work. They follow because of you. And if I keep pushing them, hey, use this, and this, and they get fired tomorrow, and then they're gonna be like,
all right. So with this, I guess that brings us to the end of the questions. That's all, Pachi. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me. That's a pleasure.
So do you have anything, any last message to share, Pachi, with the audience before we leave?
Just get started and just go to Twitter and tweet about the conference. It's like a little tiny piece of content, but it's very good. And again, if you ask some question and had time to answer, you can post a Twitter and tag me. I'm gonna answer that. And again, thank you so much for inviting me. That was a pleasure.